I would like to hand over now to the main course. Gabriel George, if you could take control, that would be fantastic. Gabe, you're going to be, you're knee deep in Angular all the time, and you're going to talk to us tonight about how to improve the performance of a huge Angular app that has a lot of components, right?
That's correct. Although this is not the main course, I think the main course has been done in the early of the talk.
Okay. All right. You're the dessert then. That's all right. We had entree, main, and dessert. All right.
Yep.
Fantastic. Now, I'm always a fan of dessert and always leave a lot of room for that. So what are we going to see? Why did you write this talk?
So basically, I've been working in so many applications, in so many enterprise level Angular applications. And despite Angular being one of the fastest, it just feels sluggish sometimes when we have massive components. So, and then I found out that, these are the few reasons that are causing this issue. So yeah, I'm just wanting everyone to know, hey, it's not that hard to fix it.
All right, cool. Let's kick it off.
Alrighty. All right. Thanks everyone for joining. So as I said, I'm going to talk about satisfying your performance hungry UI in Angular. So after working for a couple of years, I know in Angular, there are some main issues happening there. So there are unnecessary change detection, and their change detection is working too hard, and unterminated subscriptions. So usually these are the three main things that causes performance issue in Angular. Before we go any further, I'm going to explain myself. So I'm Gabriel George. I'm a senior software architect at SSW. You can follow me on Twitter, or you can even read my blog at devzilla.io. So I've been an enterprise Angular developer for the past 4 years. I love coffee very much. In fact, I was a barista. And I'm also a gamer like Chris, and we are currently playing together Final Fantasy 14. So if any of you actually play games, do reach to us. And in this talk, I'm going to separate it into three main points. So performance issues from change detection, and then how to optimize Angular change detection, and summary. Let's get started. So first thing first, what is a change detection? So in Angular specific scope, it's a hook on app and component lifecycle, which evaluates and updates DOM whenever there's a change. So it's a good and a bad thing, right? It's good because if we don't have change detection, it's just not going to render anything. It's not going to change anything until you force refresh it or doing something that you shouldn't do. And when we talk about change detection, and I mentioned about unnecessary change detection, the reason I'm telling you that is every DOM interaction triggers Angular change detection. So every button click, every keyboard type, it triggers that. So this change detection just rechecks everything. However, most of our application usually just like affect small portion of the screen, right? Unless you're changing a route, there's no reason for you to check the whole screen all over again. So not everything needs to be checked. And then we move to another issue. Change detection works too hard. So it's sort of similar to the previous one. And I definitely going to show you what's the difference. So in this case, change detection works too hard. It's just like Angular reevaluates everything. Angular checks everything, including functions that you have in the HTML template. So imagine if you have a computation-heavy function in the HTML, that's going to get re-triggered every time you click, every time you type. And then I mentioned that intermittent subscriptions also cause you performance issue. So I could say this is not apparent when you started a project. However, in the long run, when you start to build your application bigger and bigger and bigger, it could cause memory leak. And then it could produce unwanted behavior. Sometimes you just won't realize that you have bombarded your own web API with multiple requests because you're doing something wrong. And it could chew up memory and CPU, which why would you? So imagine you have your web application asking for a 5 gigs of RAM. That's just, it doesn't make sense. So how to fix that? Actually, that one is the easiest one. Always unsubscribe. And to know more about that, you can read that on my blog at devzilla.io. So I have mentioned to you about three main causes of bad Angular performance: change detection again, and subscription. So I'm going to focus more on this change detection part. All right. So we have this issue, right? Change detection. So this is when you have not everything needs to be checked. So the problem is when we talk about the change detection strategy that Angular has, it's using default. Default means any change just triggers everything, triggers the change detection again and again and again. So usually can see it under the component, and you can see the inside the decorator. You have this change detection strategy, which if it's not there, it's default. If it's there, then sometimes, so it's usually falls between default and our solution on push. So this solution of on push is actually telling Angular, hey, to do a change detection on this component, you can only do it if it fits one of the three triggers. So one is if the input value or reference change. So usually if you pass your input through the parent component to the child component, it needs to have a reference change for Angular to notice that. And then changes that it happens inside the component, like you have a button click inside that component, it will trigger change detection. If you have any observable, it will trigger change detection. And lastly, this is something that most people don't normally do, but you can actually force change detection using change detector ref service. So change detection actually can not run, and this is one of the way that we can force it to run. All right, so let's get to the demo, and I'm going to show you change detection strategy, default, and on push. Okay, so I have this application, which is a to-do application. And basically this how this structured is, it's just a to-dos component. Inside that to-dos component, I have to-do components, which I render using ng for loop. And it just renders roughly, I think I have roughly about 200 to-dos here. All right. And then inside that to-do component, just for proof's sake, I have this get method running change detection. And basically it just returns nothing, empty string. And this is being used in the HTML using interpolation. And in this function, I do a console log change detection running from to-do component. Let's get into the code, the HTML actually, sorry. And let's have a look at this console log. So as you can see, I just started to open up this application, and it already have 800, I'm not sure if you can read it well, but it's 800 change detection running from to-do component. And now, let's clear it. I'm going to edit one of the to-do component. Let's do number 3. Click once. Oh, hey, what's happening? So I have 200 change detection times 2 just by clicking one button. Okay, maybe it's not a big thing. Let's change the title to something. It's me. Hey, what's happening there? So every button click, every typing, it's just triggering change detection over and over and over again. Even though, honestly, what needs to change is just this one small component. And when we save it, only this component should change. Okay, how to fix it? Very straightforward. So we know the behavior that this to-do component shouldn't change if there's no new input. There's no input change. So we can fix it by going into the to-do component, and inside this app component decorator, we add a new line and we do change detection, and then use change detection strategy, which is a flag, and do on push. That's it. We save it, and let's have a look again. Now we refresh. Okay, we only see 200 change detection now in comparison to 400 earlier. And now when we click on the button here, or actually let's clear it first. When we click on the button on the app to do, it only triggers once. And then when we change the title to something else, it doesn't trigger the change detection because the app to-do component knows that there's no change to that input, therefore it shouldn't change. And then when we save it out, we expect there's a change detection happening, which is happening on that application to-do component. All right. So earlier I've shown you the change detection strategy, the difference between the default and on push. And honestly, you should use on push as much as possible. However, you need to be careful because there's only triggers that three triggers that can trigger change detection on an on push component. All right, next one. So the problem is change detection is working too hard. And the solution is actually Angular pipe decorator. So as I said before, sometimes we just have to have this function that lives inside the HTML component. And because we know that every time we do DOM interaction, this gets reevaluated over and over again, this is where the pipe comes in. So with pipe, the value is memoized or cached. So if the input doesn't change, input reference doesn't change, therefore pipe will assume you stay the same. The value will stay the same. And to see how that works, let's get into the demo. Okay, so I have this to-do component again, but this time what I want is I want to know how many to-dos I have, and it should be put under these to-dos. And then let's go into the code. Let's go to the to-dos component. So basically what I want is just under to-dos, I want to have H5. Let's put H5 so it's a bit smaller. And basically I have this function in the TS file, which I already made, get to-dos count, which accepts to-dos array. And then let's use it in the HTML. So we use the interpolation. And then we pass to-dos inside that. All right. So basically, based on the code, you can see, I already put this console log. But if the count is 0, it should be there is no item found. If it's 1, there is 1 item found, and more than that, there are count items found. All right, save all. All right, looks great. Despite this is not being at the right place, let's fix that. So that shouldn't be inside display flex. Let's make it live by itself. This poor lonely H5. All right, there it is. We have 200 items found. However, you can see get to this count has been triggered 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And because change action also runs every button click, every key type. Whenever you click on a button, it runs again. When you type, it runs over and over again. And how to fix that? We can implement what we call pipe. So let's make one now. So I have this pipe folder. Let's make new one. Let's call it get to-dos count.pipe to let people know it's a pipe.ts. Sounds great. And then I have this fancy Angular snippet in Visual Studio Code where you can put a dash and control space, and you can ask for like, all right, I want to make a pipe generated for you, and then let's name it get to-dos count, and name it get to-dos count. We know we are only accepting one type of value, which is a to-do model array, and we don't care about extra args, and we are returning string. Okay, let's go into that to-dos component ts. Let's copy, well, just this. We don't need the function. All right. Just for sanity's sake, let's just change that value into to-dos. And then we also need to declare this get to-dos count pipe inside the module. So let's declare it, save. And how to use it? Fairly simple. So inside the to-dos HTML, get to-dos count. So this is where we previously used get to-dos count. Remove it all. Actually, because the pipe name is the same, actually let's copy it. To-dos in the interpolation and put the pipe, and we have that underneath that get to-dos count. Let's save. So as you can see, inside this get to-dos count pipe, we still have console log. We haven't removed it. And now you can see that it only gets run once at the beginning. And then when we click on anything else, it won't retrigger because to-dos value actually remain the same. So this is very useful when you have like very computational logic. Maybe it's not as beneficial in this case, but this is something that you can always implement depending on your own use case. Alrighty, so I've just shown you how to use pipe, and I also have shown you that pipe memoizes the value as long as the input reference hasn't changed. Right. And let's go to summary. So change detection always happening regardless of UI framework, be it Angular, React, Vue, or even Blazor. They have their own kind of change detection. And then in Angular, use change detection strategy on push to prevent Angular from doing unnecessary change detection. Use Angular pipe decorator to prevent Angular to reevaluate function, especially the one that have heavy computation in the HTML template. And also, don't forget to unsubscribe. Thank you, everyone. Hope you have a great night.
Thank you so much, Gabe. Thank you heaps. That was awesome. When you have a large Angular page and there's lots of components there, how do you find the fattest component on the page?
The fattest component on the page. This is a bit tricky. Maybe look at the lines of code first thing first.
No, really?
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't
You'll
always
be
indicate
surprised.
how much process is being used by the component.
Oh, you'll be surprised. I've seen one component that has 400 lines of code, which technically can be easily be split into multiple components, smaller ones.
Ah, right. Smaller and smaller components.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay. Are there any scenarios where the on-push change detection causes you issues?
Yes. So I think this I have some case where this Angular project was done by a backend developer previously, and then they are not used with immutability that we usually have in Angular or any basically JavaScript languages, and they just do object mutation. So with object mutation, it doesn't change the reference. Therefore, on push will not trigger change detection. They'll be confused like, why is it not triggering? And honestly, that's one of the reason why.
Right.
And therefore, you need to force it using change detector ref service.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And are you already on Angular 10?
I haven't had any project on Angular 10. We had a project with Angular 9, but I'm very excited on features on Angular 10.
Which feature?
There's one that called strict mode that making your application even stricter, saying that every function that returns, every function you need to specify if it returns void, if it returns string, object, or anything else, but it needs to be, you need to put it up. You cannot make it implicitly return something.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So like linting tools type thing.
Almost like forcing you to do to type it, strongly type it.
Right. Okay. All right. Cool. Now I have a curly one for you. How do you feel about all this? Like I know you are an Angular developer through and through, but how do you feel about all this chatter about Blazor? And what would you think if you were thrown on a Blazor project tomorrow? How would you feel?
Like I think based on Chris's experience, Blazor is great if you know C sharp. If you're confident with C sharp, and then it's missing some of the feature. I think I'll be okay, honestly, because even though it's a different kind of language, it's just the mentality of doing front end framework will help a lot.
All right. So JK, you there? I'd love to know, you got any questions for Gabe on this Angular stuff?
Yeah, I have maybe an interesting question. So for instance, I found a couple of clients that are on Angular 4, 6, 8.
Yeah.
So if they have performance issues, should they try to do what you were doing, or should they try to upgrade to Angular 10? What do you think would be the better choice for them if they could choose only one or the other?
If you're on Angular 4, upgrade. If you're on Angular 6, upgrade. If you're on Angular 8 and above, you can just use one of the optimization that I just showed you earlier. I think from 4 to 7, there are a lot of good changes, mainly on RxJS. It's a bit out of topic, but back in the day, RxJS implementation is sort of using prototype and just baking it inside your object, making things bigger and bigger. It's quite different than what we have now for starting from Angular 7 and above.
That's good.
Chris, how did you find JK's talk?
It was pretty powerful. Like I can already imagine a couple of past projects where having the query tags actually saves us time looking at particular query, because like what we can see is basically only data in app insights, right? So that's the only visibility that we have. So you need to do digging and so on and so on. But with query tags, I reckon it'll be just like a snap, and then know where it is.
All right, awesome. All right. So before I say goodnight, you got any final questions or comments?
Nah. I think everyone did a great talk tonight.
Oh, yes.
I really enjoyed it.
Thank you for putting all that together, guys. I know you guys are very busy on your full-time gigs and you do this at night time. And I also want to call out to the SSW TV guys. Tonight's user group came to you via the new technology in Teams called NDI. And it was only just released a week ago and they were working helter-skelter to get it all going. And it was amazing. They got a whole lot of feedback from the Microsoft team on some little features that they wanted changed, and I thought they did a wonderful job getting tonight together. So with that, I might sign off, and we will see you next month. This is Adam Kogan signing off for SSW TV.